Okay.
Yeah, hi Dheeraj.
Yeah, hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. By the way, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Uh, Tell me about yourself a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Adira Chaudhary. I'm belong to Shamgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and I completed my Bachelor of Engineering with CS stream in 2019, RGP University, and I have a 3.3 year of experience in Java Spring Boot technology.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as a 3 year experience, how many projects you have done?
Yeah, I completed. I'm working on three projects.
Okay. So, can you
Yes.
please explain me your current project?
Right now, I'm working on one project. Is a body holiday resort project. It's a US based project, and having a two module in this project is a guest module and one more is a star module. Uh, and body holiday project we have three services like web room and FB service and metro service. So I'm working on the web room services. So when metro sends the push notification, like metro uh, sends me the reservation notifications, and web room application is registers, and in web room application is you can you can schedule your resorts, what's the resorts and what's the massage and what's the availability to sync with the Nestorian. So in web room having a registration, and you have option in eat and drink, and you can select it, you can sync the availability for the calendar. So when you book, and what is the availability for the your packages and all these things.
Okay. So,
And
mainly,
in this project we are using a Java 8, and is created with the most important tool is the Jepster tool. So Jepster is a code generator tool. It's a Jepster is a create API. We can manage the entity, and Jepster automatic create the API for the Spring Boot. And for database we can manage for the Liquibase and MySQL database. So Liquibase is managed for where when we created field and when deleted field. It's all these things we can manage in Liquibase is like having a one file master.xml file where we can manage all these things in this file.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in your project, like, do you have used the Java 8 features?
Yes. I'm using Java features in this project.
What are the features you are aware about it?
Java after 1.5 version is major features is in Java 1.8 like lambda expression, functional interface, predicate, and consumer and stream API is the most important features in the came to bring in the Java 8, because before we are talking about is Java is a pure object oriented, is based on object oriented, but in Java 8 we go through the functional programmings. It's,
Okay.
we are going. Yes.
What is the use of lambda expression? Hansa?
Uh, Lambda expression is a where we create a method. So we having a name, parameter, and return type. But in lambda expression, we can't define name, and we can't define. We can't is an anonymous class. Then in this method don't have a name, and we can define is the return type.
Okay. So, do you have used in your project?
Yes,
Okay. In Java, we have double equal to operator, and
yes, yes,
one we have a equals method.
yes,
So,
yes.
what is the difference between them?
Double equal to operator we are using for is a object reference comparison, and equals method is a content comparison in string.
Okay.
And yes,
So, how does hash code and equals method work?
when we compare two objects, so we are using a equals method. If we two objects are equals, then we go through the hash code method, because hash code also is the same. So it must be key hash code method also defined in the class, because it's a contract between equals method and hash code method, because equals method is because having a hash code, so we need to also must be it's override the equals method.
Okay. So, do you know in object class how many methods are available and what are those?
Yeah, object class is a parent class of all the object class, and object class we can inherit to any Java classes, and we in object class having a 11 method like hash code method, equals method, native method, and like this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, fine. So can you explain me like do you know collections?
Yes, I know.
Okay, what is the use of generic?
Generic is the type if we create a one list class. So if we using only integer, so we can define in an integer generic. Like we using for string, so we can define string. So it's a consider only one type of the objects. It's for generic. It's like we define integer, so we can define list of integer, list of
So,
string. We can define for this. It's the same
so do
data
we
type.
have any benefit while using a generic?
Yes, it indicates okay, it's a list containing only integer method. It's containing only string method. If you having a different type of the data, so you can use object.
Object type of generic.
Yes,
So by default, every collection containing the object only.
yes, containing objects, but we having only list, and we not create a object, so we can list a type of the integers.
Okay,
Only
we can
is using
specify
for only one
something.
field. Yeah. We are only using for one field. Is
Okay.
yes.
How do you use wildcard in a generic?
Wild card. No, I don't have an idea about it.
Okay,
Sorry.
nice. What is the significance of the transient keyword? Like how we are using the transient keyword? What is the use
Yeah.
of it?
Uh, a transient keyword in Java is when we use a serialization, so it convert to our object to in a byte stream. It's like a byte stream. Yeah, it's convert to. If we want its data not converted in a byte stream, so we can use a transient keyword with this variable. So it's
Any,
not
do you
converted.
have any example when we are using, when we are not using?
No, I don't have an example. I'm not using, but I aware of this. It's when we using because it's when we not converted, then we using a transient keyword.
Okay, do you know serialization, deserialization?
Yeah, serialization when is the our object is convert into byte stream. So when we use the serialization and deserialization, when we get the data, so our data is stored in DB in a byte stream, so it's convert in byte to object form. So it's a deserialization.
Okay, so transient is also similar to that. If you want to send your data on network or maybe some other API
Yes, sir. Yes,
from one place to another place, anything you can send.
yes, sir.
And if you want to ignore it, it will not go inside that. Then you can make
Okay.
it as a transient. Okay.
Okay.
Next question is like, what is the difference between array list and linked list?
Array list and linked list both implements the list interface because it's a part of the collection, and collection having a three interface, list, set, and queue. And we are talking about array list and linked list. So both are implements with the both are implements with the list, and both are containing a duplicate value. But we are using array list for searching is quickly, and linked list is slowly. And if we want a manipulation with the data, so linked list is a faster for the manipulation, and array list is slow compared to linked list and array list.
So array list is slow or linked list is slow.
If we manipulations, then linked list is good. If we want search, then array list is best because array list working on index basis.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So generally, like you, if you are deploying your project,
Yes.
so in your company, like how we are handling your ticket or story in
In
our
a
we are using.
we are using a Jira tool where we read the requirements of the client. So in to-do list and when we working on in progress, and if we work on this project, work on this ticket, so we move to the in review and in testing, and then we deploy it in QA environment. So in review and then we deploy on production, then we can done. So
Okay.
we are using a Jira tool for this.
So are you following any sprint or agile methodology?
Yes, it's agile methodology.
Okay.
Yes.
So okay. So for example, you got any story or any requirement.
Yes.
So how with whom you are discussing your problems, your confusions, who is helping you?
Yeah, it's a many times it's confusing because it's not a good way. Our it's many things we are confusing. Then we talk to our team leads, and team leads talk to with project manager, project architect, and a QA, and we are discuss all these things. Project manager, it's
Okay, so
help for this.
once you have any confusion, you are talking directly to your team lead.
Yes, and team lead talking to manager.
Okay, if it is required, they
Yeah,
talk to the manager or
yes,
architect.
they talk to manager. Yes, yes,
Okay, so for example, you have a solution and you have done
yes,
your fixes.
yes, yes.
So in your local, you have done your changes. Then what you are doing again? How you are pushing your code? Where you are pushing?
Yeah, in my local machine, I completed my code, and I'm testing. Yeah, I am testing with the developer level testing. It's done, and so I move to the QA, and we have using for deployment for AWS servers. So where we deploy on staging servers, and then we QA is tested where
Okay, so you are deploying your changes on the AWS.
AWS because my company is a startup companies. There is a no having a database DevOps team, so I can manage all these things. Is we are creating for instance for this, so we are deploying EC2 instances for deployed.
So in your project, what are the services you are using in the AWS?
We are using EC2 services and S3 bucket for the storing a XML file, and we are managing and one more is IDBMS. We are using 3 4 services for S3
Okay.
bucket IDBMS and S3 yeah, EC2 services.
CI/CD pipeline also you have implemented.
No, because I'm working on one monolithic project, so there is a no CI/CD pipeline in our projects. But I have a no CI/CD pipelines because when we continuous is deployment continuous and in working on microservice, then we deploy the code through the through the CI/CD.
Okay.
Yes.
So for example, in your project, do you have use any cache or something?
No.
Cache, no. Okay, fine. So can you let me know, once you have done the changes, it's moved to the maybe you are using the Bitbucket or GitHub? Git-
GitHub.
GitHub. So
Yes.
in GitHub, who is reviewing your code and who is finally merging to the develop branch or release or master branch? Can you explain me?
Yeah. When we done our code in pushing we created for this branch for only separate ticket, and our project manager is review for all this code, and it's done, and it's review. Then we merge to develop branch.
Okay, so who have the capability to merge it to the develop branch?
Having a in project is a CTO, so
Okay,
they review our code.
he itself reviewing or he also merging also.
No, it's a review when we review both because when I join the call and it's a review, then
Okay, okay,
okay.
okay, fine.
Yes.
So, do you have idea about AWS?
Yes.
So, how you are checking your log, your application log?
Yeah. In EC2 service having a one option where when we go to the own logs and we download the log zip files, and then we extract and we check the logs because many times our services is slow, so then we check the logs, okay, which services is calling in again and again, and which query is taking much time, so we optimize query, and we check the procedure, okay, which procedure is working on slow, so that we manage. And if we query slow, then we managing indexing and so many things.
Do you know
Because
CloudWatch?
recent we are using a T2 microservice for instance. So when our application is many times slow, then we move to the T2 small.
Okay.
So
Do
that
you
time
aware
we
about
yes.
CloudWatch?
No, I don't know about the cloud
In
watch.
AWS, we have one service called CloudWatch.
Yes, yes.
With the help of that, also we can analyze our logs or we can monitor our system or services.
Yes, but I don't have an idea because I'm not aware about the cloud
Okay.
watch.
Nice.
Yes.
Let's move to the Spring Boot. So I'm going to
Okay.
ask some questions tell me the advantage of a Spring Boot.
Because before we are using a Spring, and in Spring there don't have a default configuration in not a auto configuration. We are managing all these things in XML file, and it's not a rapid application. So in advanced features they created it's a version of the like version is the Spring Boot. So in all these things we are managed through the annotation, and annotation is a rapid application for the where we creating for one application is for rapid fast development, and we not need to the configuration because we all the we can through the dependencies and the automatic auto configuration. So it's manage all these things in Spring Boot. So we are using move to the Spring Boot.
Okay.
Yes.
How does Spring Boot facilitate the dependency injection? What is dependency injection?
Dependency injection is a like is a design pattern, and dependency is a design pattern, and it's also a dependency injection is to manage to our instances, and manage our instance and configure and assemble the dependency for the objects. So dependency injection is a like two type is a setter injection and constructor injections, and all this we control for the IOC controller.
Okay.
Yes.
So what exactly IOC container will do?
Mm, IOC container is a create an instances our beans, and it's manage our objects and assemble the dependency for our objects. It's a working of IOC container. IOC container having two type like uh, bin factory and application context factory.
Okay. What is the benefit of a Spring Boot starter?
Uh, Spring Boot starters create all the dependencies and configure all the dependencies automatically.
Okay, so automatically it will do for you.
When we select the dependency, then it's download automatically. And when we
Required dependency.
required dependency.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell me like what is the benefits of Actuator?
Actuator is a when we deploy our application in production servers. So Actuator is a monitoring in our application. So we can manage for the monitor our application, and we can manage for the HTTP endpoints.
Okay, so for monitoring only we are using the Actuator, right?
Yes, monitoring purpose.
Okay. So do you have used the Actuator in your project?
No, we are not using Actuator.
You didn't use.
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell me like if you are using any actuator, so do you have idea how we can create our custom actuator?
No, I don't have an idea.
Okay. In a Spring Boot, how we are handling the configuration part?
In Spring Boot,
Yeah, a Spring Boot.
Spring Boot. So in Spring Boot, having a one file, it's like application.properties file where we can configure when we configuration like we have a SQL to we connect to the database, so we can where configure where we can configure. So it's a application.properties file where we can and we when which port running on our application. So we have all these things we can configure in application.properties files.
Okay. So configuration part we are handling inside the application.properties file or maybe YML file?
Yes.
Both the files.
Both. Yes, both the files.
Okay. My next question is like, if you want to secure your microservices,
Yes.
what do you have to do?
If we want to secure our microservices, then we need to require the security dependencies. So we need to uh, configure the security dependency, and the security dependency having the most important thing is authentication authorization. Authorization is configured to the is checked for the user details, and if it is correct, then we move to the authentication. So it's a call to the one method to generate a token, and we can configure, we can manage in JWT.
So in your application, what are the security you have used? What
We
is
are
the
using a
types of
JW,
security?
JWT authentic JWT security we are using.
Okay, so in your project you have used the JWT authentication.
JWT. Yes, yes.
Okay, do you have idea about LDAP, basic authentication, OAuth 2?
Mm, no.
Okay, basic authentication is simple. Just we have to add the
Yes,
dependency,
yes, yes.
and LDAP
LDAP
is
is I know, but I don't have
single sign-on,
yes
or
single
OAuth is
application.
by the help of some third party like Google or
Yes,
LinkedIn,
yes.
Facebook.
Okay,
So do
okay.
you have implemented it in your project?
Yes, I no, I'm using JWT, but is a basic authentication we are using in a college level project. So when we are doing internship, that time we are using.
Okay, okay. Okay, let me know, like, do you have idea about how we are creating the Spring Boot application from scratch?
Uh, we have a two option.
Okay.
If we create it with the IDA, then we select the Spring Starter application. Then when we click and we give the project name, artifact ID, and group name, and they give the option to which dependency you are required, and we are click on this, and it created. And one more is a command line website. So yeah, it's a Spring Boot Starter web application. So when we click on the web applications and download our zip and import Maven to this zip in our projects. And one also feature is a command line interface, so where we can create our web applications.
How do you handle the exception in your Spring Boot application?
In Spring Boot application, we are handle the exception with the HTTP with the HTTP endpoints and having annotations and having a for HTTP exception class, so we can manage the exception in Spring Boot.
Okay. Do you have heard about like controller advice or exception handler? How we are using it?
Yes, we are using in exception handler for this manage the exception for the annotation.
So global exception, if you want to handle, how we can do it in your project?
Global exception. So we are using for the transaction annotation.
Transaction is different things.
So
For global exception, I ask right one question is controller advice or exception handler. So those are the two annotations we are using, and with the help of that, we are handling the global exception in the entire project.
okay, okay, okay.
Okay. Next question. Do you know Spring Data JPA?
Yes, I know Spring Data JPA because before we are using a JDBC, then we are moved to the Hibernate, and right now we are advanced feature is a Hibernate advanced feature is Data JPA. So when we are using the Data JPA, so we configure we require the dependency of the Data JPA and MySQL, and we create a repository class for this.
So if you want to integrate any database with your JPA, what are
Yes.
the steps you have to follow?
Uh, Yes, we require the dependency of the Spring Data JPA, and we assemble the dependency, and then we move to the application properties where we are configuration for these data configurations, and then we create a even interface like JPA, and in having a main interface, so we are using for JPA interface
So in
in the post.
application.properties file,
Yes,
we are giving some details of the database.
yes.
So for MySQL, what are the configurations we are giving?
MySQL, we are configuration for the like what is the username and password, and what is the database name, and what is the driver, so we can configure.
Okay. So
Yes.
what is the URL for that? MySQL, do you remember?
Yes, I know. URL is like HTTP localhost colon 3306. What is the port our MySQL and slash what is our database name?
For local
Yeah.
database configuration?
Whole. Yeah, it is also same for also link URL is the same local data configuration.
For local database, we are giving MySQL colon, JDBC colon, right?
Yes, yes,
Double slash localhost,
yes,
port
yes,
number slash database name.
Yes, yes,
Those.
yes,
Okay, let's move to some more important questions. Okay.
yes,
So in your project,
yes.
how did you approach to solve the any challenge? Can you explain? If you face any challenge in your project, how is your
Mm.
approach to solve it?
Uh, if many time I'm facing challenge because recently we are using for a file transfer integration. So that time I'm facing a challenge. So I'm not idea about that. So I'm a Google and then help with Chat GPT, and I'm confusing about some code. So I asked to my team with the help of the team leads, and they suggested me ki Dheeraj, you are containing a file because it's a today before we are storing the data and tomorrow generating data and also contain these files. So you are using a S3 buckets for contain the data, for concate the data. So yeah, so it's many time we are challenged, we are discuss with the team and Google, and we are managed.
So those challenge you faced while doing a project, right?
Yes.
So what are the approach you have taken to solve it? Have you solved or not?
No, I'm sold.
Okay, you solved it, but
Yeah.
what you have done, like you have talked to your team leads or team members, or you have done some Googles, you have done some research, and then after you solve it, right?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Because we are creating for we are first is R&D, then I work. If not working, then I help with the team leads. They suggest to me कि it's a good approach. It's not we are using it's a deprecated and you are using AWS, so you can use this thing. So we are manage.
Okay. What is your role in your project?
In my project, my role is I understand the requirement of the clients and created for this API for this requirement, and it's deployed. For,
Okay, so as a developer, you are doing work.
yes, yes,
Okay, good. So, for example,
yes,
if you faced any challenge in your project
yes,
and you don't have any solutions for that, you have done lots of research, lots of things,
yes, yes, yes,
but you are not able to do it.
yes.
So, what is your next step?
We go to the documentation. We have a at that time we are migrate our project like 1.28 the latest in migrate like Java 17 or Java 21. So that time we help with the documents.
So, which document, like a Spring Boot or Java document?
Java document also and Spring Boot document also because in Spring higher version like a 3.2 higher version, so it's many securities changing like before we are using a web security adapter and after 3 years the web security adapter is deprecated, so it's many things is changed, so we can read to the documentation
Correct.
and concern with the senior also.
Okay. For example, you want to make some particular endpoint in your project
Yes,
based on the role-based access.
yes, yes,
For example, in your company or project having a different type of role.
yes,
Maybe some of having a admin role, some of having a public role, some of having a moderate role.
user role, yes, yes,
And you have to give the permission to particular endpoint only to the admin role people.
yes,
If somebody people who have a role as a public or moderate, they are trying to access those API, it say like you don't have access for that particular
yes, yes,
endpoint. So
yes.
those things, how you can implement it?
We are using for role-based authentication in my application. Having we are using for the multi-tenant application for its role specification, and many application is because it's accessing all the because in this API access all. So and we having a ant method. So in security application we have one class. Then we having a one method is like dot ant method. So when we give the permission is accessible for all, accessible for all.
Okay. Do you aware about at the rate pre-authorized at the rate secure annotation in a Spring Boot?
Yes,
when we are using it?
I know. @service.
No, @secure, @pre-authenticate.
Yeah, this type of annotation we are using in JWT classes, where we are using in this notation. And I'm not idea about it because I'm working on existing projects. Security is all before.
Okay. Okay, fine. I had the last questions I'm going to ask, like, do you have idea about profile?
Mm, profile, like the
Spring Boot profile.
in every environment, our
Yeah.
Spring Boot is a different. So we are manage the profiling in application.yml. So in this in this file for using for staging environment, and this file for only development environment. So we are maintaining for the profiling application.properties files. So where we manage, because it's a dev environment, is a pod environment, which environment is for working. So where we manage these things.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I have done from my side. Do you have any questions?
No, sir, everything is done from my side, and I know I'm facing many challenges in the web security. So
No,